right, our pick six topic today, brought to you by Davidson's Liquors, is
2 running backs, 2 tight ends,
what Broncos,
2 or 3
who are not in the Hall of
offensive
Fame, should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm
Why-
going first on this.
And there's a reason why this is my pick.
Okay.
You kind of question, why are we doing that today? Well, I'll explain to you during the course of it. You'll see why I wanted to do it leading up to the draft.
All right, here we go. I'm going to name 6 people who have been with the Broncos who should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Dan Reeves should be in the Hall of Fame. We talked about it earlier. There's only one man in the history of football who has participated in 9 Super Bowls as a player, assistant coach, and that's Dan Reeves. There's a reason for that. It's not coincidence. And I also believe that you should look at people as contributors to the game, people who have excelled in any number of areas, including TV, who should be in the Hall of Fame. It shouldn't just be about their play, because Dan Reeves was never a Pro Bowl running back. All right, number 5. I put 2 guys here because they're kind of in the same area for me. Terrell Davis and Rod Smith, both guys who have, in many people's estimations, borderline Hall of Fame credentials. Terrell Davis was the best running back in his time for a good 3 or 4 year period, and Rod Smith was the best undrafted wide receiver in the history of the game, who put up Hall of Fame type numbers. They're going to have trouble getting in, but I put them here. I think they belong in the Hall. And Rod Smith will give the greatest Hall of Fame speech ever if he's inducted.
And
number 4.
We'll have my name in it.
John Lynch. Most of his career spent with Tampa, won a Super Bowl, one of the hardest hitting safeties ever, a leader. I think John Lynch belongs in the Hall of Fame, and he played 4 or 5 years for the Broncos, made the Pro Bowl just about every year he was here. I think 9 altogether with Tampa. He belongs in the Hall of Fame. Number 3. Randy Gradishar. Arguably, there were a lot of great middle linebackers when he played, a lot of them. His name should be mentioned with them. As you said a couple of days ago, 100 tackles or more every year for 10 straight years. I think that's deserving. And played 14-game seasons. Number 2. Mike Shanahan, whose career right now, if he never coaches another game in the NFL, his coaching career, his one-loss record, his Super Bowl track record is better than half of the head coaches who are already in the Hall of Fame. He belongs in. And number 1, I know you'll agree with this one, Pat Bowlen belongs for his contribution. Maybe the greatest owner in the NFL over the last 30 years. And what he did for the NFL when it came to things like television rights, off the charts. Pat Bowlen belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, now we go to mine.
Okay.
Number 6. Denver Broncos that should be in the Hall of Fame. Tombstone Jackson.
Really?
Was the greatest defensive tackle that nobody's ever heard of. Rich Tombstone Jackson.
Yeah.
When I came here, this was post-injury. He had knee injury, but Paul Zimmerman, Sports Illustrated writer, Dr. Z, had watched him throughout his career, and I saw him at the end that he may have been one of the top 5 defensive tackles of all time.
Is there anybody you can compare him to today? The impact he had on a game?
DeMarcus Ware in a way. I'm trying to think, but I mean, he was an impact guy, but then he got hurt.
Double, triple teamed every time out?
I liked what you. And we're going to have some typographical errors here, and I don't want to put the blame. I'll take responsibility. / Rod Smith. I don't know why you left that off there. I had a slash.
Number 5.
How do you put like 4 guys in one number? I don't know how you do it. Steve Atwater / Dennis Smith. I don't know why. Did my paper run out at the end where I didn't get to do it? Steve Atwater and Dennis Smith both belong in the Ronnie Lott. They were as good as Ronnie Lott. Number 4. Tom Nalen / Pat Bowlen.
Billy Bryan?
Pat Bowlen. I left Pat Bowlen off, which I shouldn't have done, but I was thinking of players and coaches. Tom Nalen will probably make it. Mike Shanahan, and I agree with that. Mike Shanahan, Red Miller. That's what we're doing. Randy Gradishar, we agree about it. Randy, I really worked hard when I was in the Hall of Fame selection committee. I've told the story before, trying to get him in, and he was just so close, and then you get kind of lost in the shuffle. But Randy belongs in there, and I think as a senior he'll get in there. Number 1 is Dan Reeves, and I put him number 1 because of all the things you said. And the reason why I came up with this question today was that Dan Reeves was on the show today, but he belonged in the Hall of Fame years ago. The guy took 2 different teams to the Super Bowl. He went to 4 Super Bowls as a head coach.
Yeah,
now,
2 different teams.
He would be in there if he'd won them, but there's a guy who coached the Buffalo Bills to 4 Super Bowl losses that's in there. I mean, there's a guy, Bud Grant. Remember Bud Grant? He never won a Super Bowl.
4 Super Bowls, too.
2 guys that lost 4 Super Bowls?
Yeah.
Well, he qualifies in. He lost 4 Super Bowls.
Let me throw a name at you. And I kind of set this up earlier when I said guys who have been big contributors to the game and are famous. And let's face it, it's called the Hall of Fame as related to football. A guy who had a really good career, a leader on the field, went to a Super Bowl, and a guy who's had an incredible television career for the last 30 years. A guy who played linebacker here, Tom Jackson. What do you think of him? I believe contributions off the field should
What's
be
going to
included.
happen is because the way they've now broken it up, that they've separated, contributors couldn't get in.
Right.
Owners and general managers, they could get in. TV commentators, I don't know, but now they've made it where they're in a separate category like the seniors. Let me just add another point, because truth in advertising. You wondered why I was doing that today. Well, my list, if you think about it, Steve Atwater, Dennis Smith, who were on my list, were drafted by the Broncos.
Yes.
Randy Gradishar was drafted by the Broncos. You're talking about drafts. The Broncos have had some that they went on from the draft to being in the conversation for the
Sure.
Hall of Fame. And so when I brought those up, I thought, we're going to see a couple of guys today, it's not today, but that in this draft for the Broncos, that one day will be considered for the Hall of Fame. That's why I want to have that discussion about John Elway. I think Von Miller's one day going to be up for the Hall of Fame. I think that
If he stays on the field, I agree.
Demaryius Thomas, who was not drafted by Elway but was drafted here, is a potential Hall of Famer. Wide receivers, it's more difficult. Juice Thomas might end up being not with Jacksonville. He ought to go
DeMarcus
somewhere
Ware
else.
might already
Yeah, but
be
he wasn't
elected.
drafted here. I'm just saying that, as you were prone to say, I'm just saying that whoever's drafted tonight could be 20 years from now a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
So that was the point of that.
I got it.
Why I was doing it.
I got it.
So.
And Pick 6 brought to you by Davidson's Liquors, where you can build your own six-pack. Fans of this show, the sports show, can get $10 off any online order of $50 or more at davidsonsdenver.com. Use the promo code SPORTSHOW10. Oh, you're going to get beer all over me.
That was going to be. Oh, you said to me earlier you could wipe anything on jeans. You could wipe beer on jeans.
This is good for online orders only.
I'd like to see you go to the
which
draft
can be
with beer
delivered,
in your crotch.
smelling of beer. Can be delivered or picked up in the store. It's only available at davidsonsdenver.com. Again, use the coupon code SPORTSHOW10 and get $10 off any order of $50 or more at Davidson's Liquors.